Many parents are concerned that their child might be falling behind. Others are just looking for ways to help their children thrive, not just in the classroom, but socially, and well into their future careers. Each episode, we explore the challenges facing parents in the modern world, from behavior, education, and nutrition to device and gaming addiction. We interview a range of leaders in the area of childhood development to help you successfully navigate parenting in the digital age. Here is your host, Jamie Buttigieg.
Hello parents, and welcome to another episode of the Parenting in the Digital Age podcast. Because there is no instruction book for being a great parent, we find experts from around the world to help us navigate all things parenting. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Dr. Fiona Tassoni, who is a registered doctor of Chinese medicine specialising in fertility. Now Fiona is a fertility coach with a master's degree in Chinese Herbal Medicine, with 21 years of medical practice and over 32,000 hours of clinical experience. Fiona is also the founder of the Pregnancy Accelerator Program, which I hope we touch on throughout our show today. Now, Fiona primarily focuses on women's reproductive health conditions such as infertility, pregnancy, preparation for birth, labour and postnatal care. Dr. Fiona also works with an array of complex health disorders such as endometriosis, ovulatory disorders and polycystic ovarian syndrome, just to name a few. Now, Dr. Fiona, that was quite an intro. Thank you for joining us. Please share with our listeners in your own words what you do and what you're passionate about.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. It's lovely to meet you, Jamie. I am passionate about all things Chinese medicine. I'm passionate about hormones and the concept of conception and co-creation. So it lights me up. It excites me because it really is a medicine of balance. And I think we can all just relate to that regardless of whether you're trying to get pregnant or not. Yeah,
definitely. Now, before the show, we were having a bit of a chat about and the question I asked was, how did you come into Chinese medicine? Because I guess it's quite a specialist field. And I was quite fascinated, and I think our listeners would be fascinated. Would you mind sharing that story of how you got into Chinese medicine in the first place?
Yes, of course. I was originally going to study law, and I had travelled to the UK, and I was, travelling like most Australians do and doing the 2 years overseas work travel experience. And I was working for Norton Rose in London, and I had a back injury that I'd had in Australia, 6 years before that prior. And I tried acupuncture in London as a last resort. And normally when I was in Australia, I had my team of therapists that I would see, chiros, physios, osteopaths. So I tried acupuncture as a last resort, and it fixed my back. And I had a posterior bulge. It was quite debilitating. So the fact that the pain went after 6 years of, chronic, dull, aching pain, it was enough to excite me and challenge me and just think, well, I want to pursue this career in Chinese medicine. So I got into Chinese medicine through an experience of acupuncture.
Yeah, fantastic. And said goodbye to law and changed your life and many women's and families' lives forever. So well done on that change.
Yeah, it was amazing because I was traveling and using the litigation and working as a legal PA instead of working in a bar. It earned more money, so it gave me the opportunity to work and travel. But after having the acupuncture, and I just thought, oh, wow, send me the prospectus to London. I'm going to study Chinese medicine. And I applied actually while I was in London, and came back to Australia to pursue that career in Chinese medicine.
Fantastic. Now, this is a really broad question, so bear with me on this one. So why is preconception care so important, and how can men and women prepare their bodies mentally, physically, emotionally for pregnancy or IVF?
Well, I think, it's important that people need to understand most of us need to plan for pregnancy. I think most people just make the decision to have a child, but what they don't realise is that, it's like a garden. You don't just go and lay seeds in the soil. First of all, you need to cleanse the soil, make sure you've got the right nutrients in the soil. So it's a bit like, planting a garden. And it's like our bodies. Like, obviously, we need to cleanse. Most people are, they need to do a bit of a detox. They need to do a fertility cleanse. They need to look at how their body if they're exercising, hydrating, and because that has such an impact not only on, your eggs to mature and develop, but also your sperm. It needs to be replenished. And if it's not nutrient dense, then you can have issues with your morphology, your motility, or your egg quality. So that preconception, I usually say it's 3 months. Ideally, I'd like 6 to 12 months. Yep. But, in just as a general rule of thumb, people really need to do that preconception care because we kind of need to do a bit of a cleanup and lay the soil.
Yeah, definitely. And how about emotionally? Like, physically, of course, we can eat better, we can put the right nutrients into our body, we can hydrate, we can exercise and do those things. What about emotionally? Is there something that you recommend specifically to couples who might be looking to fall pregnant?
Well, a lot of the time, people don't even address their psychological care. We can have things in the closet. There can be past trauma. There can be death and loss and bereavement. There can be all sorts of issues that couples have before they conceive. And if you haven't dealt with those things, and sometimes you don't even know. Sometimes it can be even soul contracts and past life stuff without getting too woo-woo. But the reality is, a lot of people do have trauma and blocks emotionally. So I think it's really good to even just have some counselling, be it couples counselling, or even just see an acupuncturist where you can go through and just scan yourself and see, what does my body need in this moment? Like, is there anything emotional or physical or spiritual that I need to actually deal with before I try to conceive?
Yeah, and I think it's an important one because it wasn't something I ever considered in having kids, and it's probably something that often gets neglected, that mental thing or that mental health coming into this and that preconception care, as you mentioned. Now, you mentioned also earlier about improving egg quality, and I'm no doctor, but I'm assuming that's a really important part of this whole process. What are some of the ways that women can improve egg quality?
Well, first of all, as I said, I think, if you break it down into steps, like I like to do a cleanse so that you make sure that your liver's working, you've detoxified. So you can do an array of different things. You can take some herbs to detox. You can do some dry skin brushing. You can make sure that you're drinking lemon water with apple cider vinegar and even some cayenne pepper first thing in the morning for your liver. But then it's using, diet and nutrition. So you're getting, as I said, getting the right nutrients for that egg quality health, and taking an array of supplements, things like, your prenatal. That's like number one. Like the first two things I make sure is that people are taking a good prenatal with folate. Also your fish oils, which are really good for, brain development and also for your own cognitive development. And then other supplements that you could consider, zinc, selenium, CoQ10. These things are also important for sperm health too, the zinc, selenium and CoQ10. But then it's like looking at vitamins D, like the sunshine, vitamin C, vitamin B, vitamin E. And sometimes you may even need to take DHEA. As women tend to age, the egg quality does decline. So sometimes we need to supplement with DHEA.
So for the uninitiated, or for me, DHEA is what?
It's a hormone, yeah.
Okay.
And when there's, as you age, we tend to be depleted, and especially when there's adrenal burnouts, we need to replenish those hormones. So, yeah, it's one thing that can affect your egg quality if there is a depletion of DHEA. Yeah,
absolutely. So in my pre-show research, I learned something that it said here that there's been a 50% decline in sperm count over the past 60 years. So, over to you. What's happened in the last 60 years that's affected sperm so dramatically? Is it our lifestyle? Is it our food? Is it chemicals? Like, what's made that impact? Because that sounds serious.
It is serious, and it's not just with humans. It's across every kind of species. So, it is something that we need. This is the big, I guess, the big takeaway from today is that with this decline in sperm health, it's what scares me, because I've seen that decline since I've started practicing. I particularly, my perception is that it's, the endocrine disrupting chemicals. It's the plastics that's in the water. There's the pesticides such as glyphosate. So we spray that on all our grains and things, and then it goes into our waterways. Now, they've done some studies where they've picked up plastics and apparently that the plastics can affect the development of the reproductive organs in little boys, and it can really affect genetically their development. So it's a couple of things. So the environmental disrupting chemicals, we call them the EDCs, and like phthalates and BPAs, clearly you see the plastics in the waterways, and we've got to really sort of clean up those things, but also looking at spraying of pesticides. So, most of us don't even realise that, glyphosate is sprayed on most grains. And then we've seen a rise with the glyphosate in not only just diabetes, cancer, there's so many, terminal diseases that come from just pesticides. Yeah.
And is part of that answer, shopping organic,
Yes.
like it is? Okay.
100%. Look, definitely organic fruit and vegetables, because you want to avoid chemicals sprayed on these fruits and vegetables. And, you've probably heard of the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15, but, it's just like literally, if you don't know what they are, but what you can do is just, if you're buying your fruit and veggies, just throw them in like some water, like clearly filtered water, and some apple cider vinegar. It just helps take away some of those chemicals off the fruits and vegetables. And clearly going for organic, grass-fed animal fat, just looking at ways that you can reduce those heavy metals, even if it's like your cold water fish,
Yeah. Look, there's a lot to unpack there, and there's some good practical tips in there. Because I'm guilty myself. Like, I just walk into the local supermarket and I blindly pick up my fruit and veg, and we go through stages in life where we make clean and organic a choice, and for me, I'm guilty. It hasn't been a whole life change. So thank you for the reminder, and I'll definitely take some of that into account.
Or even water. Our water is so contaminated with, chlorine and fluoride. And so it could even be just getting a good water filter.
Yeah. And
you can get some really cheap options, even at Big W and some cheap outlets, but literally just a filter that takes out those things. So at least you're getting clean water, because water is so important, not only for equality, but if you look at sperm health, and your sperm it's about 95 to 98% water. And I find that most couples that come to see me are actually really dehydrated. They might say that they're having a litre of water, but when you unpack it, they're probably having a 600 ml glass of water, and it's not enough.
Yeah, no, it's not enough. Our bodies need a whole lot more than that. And again, some simple tips there, like, just making sure our filters are changed, making sure we've got a filter in the first place. Like, it's kind of what I want. And it's not just for fertility and pregnancy. It's just for good health and longevity.
Or it could even be like, not drinking out of plastic bottles. Going back to the old days, remember when your grandmother, I don't know, when I was growing up, we used to get the milk in the glass bottles. And I've just seen a resurgence of, them preparing the milk in glass bottles. So even if you've got your water bottle, make sure it's a glass bottle, drink out of straws that are not plastic. They've got those metal straws now. But yeah, just a reverse osmosis filter if you can, take it to a whole other level.
Yep.
But yeah, like simple strategies. I'm very big on trying to just implement simple things that you can really do to improve your overall health. And that's just even breaking it down to your macros. Like, are you having enough protein, carbs and fats? Because a lot of diets are so, they're anti-carbs or they're anti-fat and so, when we're looking at fertility, we actually need carbs to ovulate. We need fats for your hormones and for that connectivity, for those neural networks. And and just even fruits and vegetables. Like I say to my couples, just look at a rainbow of colour on your plate, and are you getting enough?
Yeah. I love how you've broken that down, and it's plain English. There's some really simple stuff there. And back to your earlier point, this comes back to, don't just plan 3 months before you want a child or before you want to fall pregnant. Start 12 months earlier, or start now, whenever. It's the earlier the better, as you say.
Yeah, because you want those embryos to stick. You want to build a nice healthy lining. And it takes time to nourish the blood. Like, I find so many people have, issues with blood sugar and, their gut isn't strong. And so they've got dysbiosis, diarrhea, like really basic stuff. You've got to clean that stuff up. Because if you've got diarrhea or gut dysbiosis, it means that you're not even getting the nutrients and the phytonutrients from those macros and micronutrients you're putting in your body. So you want to do the cleanup first. So that's why the cleanse and the preconception is so important, because we get to fix the problems, not just the physical problems, but if there are some things in the closet, like if there's intimacy issues or, you have abandonment issues, there's been rape or sexual abuse, there can be a lot to unpack. And that's only the first 3 months. It might take you 12 months to unpack some of the emotional stuff.
Yeah, very much. So how do couples come to terms with fertility issues? What are some of the ways they can, say, deal with stress and the anxiety of repeated setbacks?
Well, I'm a big fan of love and connection. Like, I find that couples don't spend enough quality time together. I really like to impart the 5 languages of love by Dr. Gary Chapman. He has the 5 languages of love, and it's about finding what each other's love language is, be it words of affirmation, quality time, gift giving, acts of service, and just tapping into them. And I find communication, sometimes it can be non-verbal. You've got to find out what is your partner's love language. If it is physical touch, it could be, let's have some more holding hands, melting hugs. If it's quality time, then it could be spending more time together in the garden or doing the things that your partner likes to do. So it's about increasing the communication, but finding out what that love language is. With each person, it'll be different, and tuning into that. So it's really about implementing love and connection. And then if there are issues, because there is a lot of detachment that comes with fertility stress, that, couples counselling can be a great door in, or a tantra getaway. Like there are different ways to approach love and connection. Yeah,
very much so. And so are there any questions that, I should, like, because I'm not currently, let's say, the target market, right? I'm a grandfather now, right?
Yes.
Are there any questions that, I should be asking on this show, or that would be relevant to families or couples looking to fall pregnant?
Well, the first thing I think is about do some tests. Like, start with the basics. If you're doing a cleanse, then it's nice to just do some blood tests before you start the cleanse. So get a full blood examination. Do a semen analysis if you're a male. So we know what your sperm parameters are. We want to know what your morphology, your motility, your count and your concentration is. We want to know those things. And because if we can know them first of all before we start, then we can fix them in those 3 months. Because remember, it takes 70 days for the sperm cells, for men to make new sperm cells. So often if you can do some testing, it could be a pelvic examination for women. It can be, just having a full comprehensive blood and a blood examination. So you get to understand what's improved over those 90 days, and then retest. And then you can see the changes that you make when you implement some of these changes of, more water, taking out sugars, and you might take out gluten, and improving with your macros and your micronutrients, but then retest and see the parameters change, and it's inspiring. It means that then your body is ready for pregnancy.
Yeah, extraordinary. And Dr. Fiona, at the beginning of the show, we talked about how you are the founder of the Pregnancy Accelerator Program. Share with us and our listeners what that is, and maybe how they can reach out to you.
Yes, so the Pregnancy Accelerator Program, it's a 3-month program where I work with couples, and sometimes I'll work with surrogates. I'll work with a lot of different people, because they're different each time. Each couple comes, it can be same-sex couples. So I work with a lot of different variations on a theme, but it's preparing people for pregnancy. So I work with people that may have obstacles, be it structural, and I might support them through surgery, ablation, if they've got endometriosis, adenomyosis. I fix their hormones. So we look at the periods, because the period will tell us what's going on with you. And they could have clotting factors. They might have immune disorders. So in that cleanup, in that 3 months, we'll often prescribe Chinese herbs. And it's a package where we go into everything. the cleanse, the nutrition, the diet, the lifestyle, ways to improve your fertility naturally. And I take you through all those different steps, all the pillars, and we just nourish you, protect you, make sure we get all your, get your home healthier, get your home care products safe for fertility. I get you into balancing your hormones with fertility charting, and then look at personal self-care. So ways that they can actually improve their fertility at home, like using castor oil packs, self-fertility massage. And then I give them some strategies to reduce their stress through meditation and EFT tapping. So it's quite comprehensive, and it does take 3 months. A lot of people do extend. So sometimes it might take them longer than 3 months to get pregnant. So a lot of the time I'll have couples extend to 6 months. It just depends on how long it takes them to get pregnant.
Yeah. There's and there's so much you talked about, even just in that breakdown and throughout the whole show. It's complex. There are so many factors, and I guess what I'm hearing out of all that, it's important to have a plan and to have something like the Pregnancy Accelerator Program to support them through that journey and to make it simple, break it down, demystify a whole bunch of stuff. Sounds like a common sense idea.
And sometimes they've got to navigate some really difficult choices, about whether to give up, or whether to have some donor eggs, or and so I help them and support those deep questions and challenges that they're going through, or navigate their relationship issues. And we strategize, we look at different things to improve love and connection between them. And it's it's so hard to describe it, because there's every case is different. Like we'll take you through the 5 steps to improve your fertility naturally, but each case requires its own focus. And that's what I do as a coach, is come in and give you the laser focus. I also prescribe the Chinese herbs. So if we need to fix things, improve things, I can prescribe that, and also the nutritional supplements. But there's a lot of layers to improving your fertility naturally.
Yeah, most certainly. Bit of a light question as we start to wrap up the show. One question we ask all of our guests is, if you could go back in time, the lovely little time machine, the DeLorean, and give your 10-year-old self one piece of advice, what would that be for you?
I would say embrace the power of silence. And because I'm Miss Chattybox, and I've always been a talker, and I think that learning to listen is a really powerful thing. And it's, my medicine has taught me to become a better listener, to pay attention to what's being said, because it gives you so many clues into the pathology of the people. But also it's about, when you actually do listen, you can have more meaningful and fruitful connections. So I guess that's what I would say to my little child. Embrace the power of silence and become an active listener. Pay attention to what's being said, not what you want to say.
I think, as my dad used to say, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them in that ratio.
That's so true. That's so true.
Yeah, well done. Okay, so where can our listeners find you online? How can they connect with you?
Yes, well, I've got a Facebook group. It's called the Pregnancy Accelerator Group, and anybody can join that group and they can ask any question in the Facebook group, and I will answer that question. I'm also on Instagram, Dr. Fiona and the pregnancyaccelerator.com.
Fantastic. And I'll put all those in the show notes below. Dr. Fiona, thanks for your generosity. This was a wonderful chat today, and I know it's something that will help many couples out there. And we talked about this sort of being evergreen. One of the things I love about podcasts is that, while someone may listen to it today or tomorrow, someone may pick this up in 5 years, 3 years from now. And I'm still discovering podcasts today that they might have been recorded 3 years ago, but they're completely new. It's all new information to me. So I love this medium that we're on. Thanks for your generosity, and bye for now.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed the show, please connect with Jamie on LinkedIn or Instagram. You'll find links in the podcast description. Parenting in the Digital Age is sponsored by Skill Samurai, Coding and STEM Academy for Kids. Skill Samurai offers after-school coding classes and holiday programs to help kids thrive academically and socially while preparing them for the careers of the future. Visit skillsamurai.com.au.